Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 6th, 2025 regular Planning Commission meeting. Call the roll.
Bauman. Iverson. Johnson.
Here.
Kibler.
Here.
Longton.
Here.
Menham.
Here.
Offerdahl.
Here.
Here. Trudeau. Wolf.
Here.
Amick.
Here.
Doctor.
Here.
Erickson. Bauman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, with that, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, approval of the March 2025 regular meeting minutes. And actually, yeah, that would be March, right? Yep. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, so we got a move to approve by Commissioner Kibler, second by Commissioner Johnson. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Bauman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yep.
Kibler.
Yes.
Longton.
Yes.
Menham.
Yes.
Offerdahl.
Yes.
Pontanilla.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Amick.
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're going to make a slight adjustment in our agenda items here. We're going to start off with 5.3 and 5.4, and then we'll move on to 5.1 and 5.2. Any objections to that?
No.
Okay. See none, we'll move to item number 5.3, Highlands at North Hill 8th Edition PUD Amendment. Public hearing, request by Andrew Goodwinson, 701 Development. Owner for a request of a PUD amendment on the property zoned R2 two-family residential district with a PUD overlay with a requested amendment pertaining to lot density and development of the final phase of Highlands North subdivision. Legal description of the property is Lot 13, Block 1, Highlands at North Hill 7th Edition, and Lot 6, Block 3, Highlands at North 7th Edition to the City of Minot. Property address is unassigned. With that, we'll turn it over to staff for findings and report.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the Planning Commission. As you can see here, we have the property bound in black with the 300-foot notification buffer shown in pink. The subject property is located northwest Minot, west of the North High School. They are requesting an amendment to the PUD plan. The letter of intent can be found in the staff's written report. The proposed layout for the changes of density to single-family homes, they are requesting the lot alignment amendment to the PUD, as you can see on this map. The current zoning of the property is R2, two-family residential, with a PUD overlay. Any future development would have to conform to the amended PUD plan. The subject property is designated as urban residential on our future land use map. Adjacent districts are general, commercial, public, and institutional. Here we have some photos of the property. We have the one on the left is facing north. These are the vacant lots to be built. The photo on the right is facing northwest, down 23rd Avenue. The photo on the left is facing southwest towards, I believe, their townhome development just to the south. And the photo on the right is facing east towards the new North High School. Here is staff finding of fact, and it can be found in the staff's written report. Planning Commission has the authority to hear this case and provide a recommendation to City Council on whether to approve the PUD amendment with or without conditions. I'd like to let you know that staff recommendations have changed. This application, as you will note in the next application, a portion of it has been withdrawn. Negotiations have been ongoing in this. So staff recommendations tonight do differ from the recommendations you were provided in the staff report. That's because things have changed since the staff report was written. So staff recommendations as of now are: the staff recommends Planning Commission adopt the staff finding of fact and recommend approval to the City Council for an amendment to the PUD overlay planned unit development plan on file at the city as outlined in Exhibit 3 alternative. That is the sheet that John Van Dyke passed out prior to the meeting. Included in this recommendation is for the City Council to direct engineering to work with the developer to facilitate a reduction in street width by a minimum of 3 feet. So if you take a look at that alternative, what it outlines is the changes to the PUD that would allow them to go forward with construction of the multi-use path and then be a pilot for a program that would look at street width reductions within subdivisions. So they'd build a narrower road and then have additional pedestrian infrastructure. That's kind of the explanation of how this has evolved, and with that, I would stand for any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichson, what kind of problems might come from narrowing those roads?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler. I've spoken with the engineering department. They don't anticipate any significant problems from the reduction of the street width. This has to do with the way they're planning to construct the subdivision with off-street parking for each residence. So,
Does it change the angle of the ditches on the side of the road to have a more narrow road, or does one change with the other?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibble, this would be an urban road section. They'll be required to do curb and gutter with storm water, so there won't be any ditches adjacent to these roads.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Bauman. I do have a question or two at some point in the process for staff.
Feel free.
Okay, sounds good. Actually, no questions as much as just comments. I really appreciate the work that our planning staff has done with the developer to find some solutions and to be able to use this new development as a way to test the impact of maybe a more narrow road. We know a lot when we look at different planning tools and schemes and the ways that our communities are set up. And I'm really, really pleased to see that we're looking at reducing the road width, because we know that narrower roads are safer roads. We know that narrower roads are cheaper for the public because we don't have as much asphalt that we need to maintain and concrete we need to maintain. And there's a huge value, especially with the fact that off-road parking has been planned. So I think I just want to say thanks to the planning staff for looking at this and coordinating the effort with engineering and working to kind of get the initial feedback as we go into this project. I think it's a great opportunity for our community to maybe learn and hopefully do a little bit better.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion with city staff? Commissioner Wolf.
So there is absolutely no parking on the street then in that development?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Wolf, yes, there will still be on-street parking. There is just a reduced width of the road. Think older neighborhoods in Minot. So if someone has a grad party on this road in the summertime, it might get a little tight over there, but for the most part, the staff is thinking that parking will be accommodated by the off-street parking, and the demand for on-street parking will likely be lower. And so we're looking to pilot a road narrowing, a street width reduction pilot programs. If this works, it may be an infrastructure maintenance cost-saving measure for the city to consider in the future.
One more. So let's say there is a grad party and there's an emergency on that street. Is there going to be people parked on both sides of the street for the grad party? Emergency vehicles have full use of the street? Like there's enough, like 3 foot narrower than a normal street width? Like what's that as far as from curb to curb?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Wolf, that the actual street cross sections will have to be dealt with the engineering department, but I have every confidence that the city engineer will make sure that the road is constructed in a way that emergency vehicles will always have access.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichson, I know in country county roads, you've got 33 feet from center as an old style road. And I'd never heard Mr. Bauman's statement that a more narrow road is a safer road. So I wonder if you couldn't just very briefly talk about roads and their width and safety overall and how you come up with a road of whatever dimension you're going to put in here for this subdivision.
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, I am not a traffic engineer or a city engineer, but I can tell you the things that planners think about when we think about road cross sections. Narrow roads are safer roads. People don't drive the speed limit. They drive the speed they're comfortable driving on the road as it's engineered. So I'm sure there's a couple roads around town where the posted speed limit that you've noticed is never used. People are 5, maybe 10 miles an hour over that. That's because they feel safe driving that fast on that road. And it's because it's a wide road with 13-foot wide lanes, and they're just comfortable going that fast. By reducing the lane widths, you also reduce people's comfort level in driving fast. It cuts down on higher speed collisions. It also makes pedestrians in neighborhoods safer. It's a traffic calming mechanism is what it is. So the intent in this back cul-de-sac is to calm traffic and make it so that people aren't comfortable driving 35 miles an hour down this road. They're only comfortable driving 25, so they drive 25. So that would be where traffic calming mechanisms makes for safer roads.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure that there's a limit to how narrow you can make a road and keep it safe. And I guess I was wondering, how small can you go and still be safe, whether someone had figured that out for certain speed limits?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, that would be, and unfortunately neither of them could make it, but that would be a question for the engineering department. There are best practices for lane widths for all different classifications of roads, yes. And I have every confidence in our engineering department that they would not allow for a road to be constructed in a way that would be dangerous or inaccessible for emergency vehicles.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichson, just kind of going off your comment earlier about comparing this to a road in an older neighborhood. If I'm to understand, basically a road of this size is not unprecedented within Minot. Was that kind of the point that you were making with that comparison?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Longton, this road will likely be wider than some of the roads that you would see from our subdivisions from the 40s and 50s and even into the 60s, the Oak Park neighborhood, the Bel Air neighborhood. It will likely even be wider than some of the roads that exist within the city now.
Thank you.
Just follow up on that too. You kind of referred to this as a pilot program. So is this kind of the first in the city, but it's done elsewhere? Is there a little background to this pilot program that they've done it elsewhere? And maybe that might be.
Chairman Offerdahl, I'm going to use this opportunity to say thank you to John Van Dyke, our MPO director. He was very much involved in the first phases of this Highlands at North Hill project, and had a lot of institutional knowledge on how the developers, he'd established a relationship with the developers and how they'd gotten from that arrested development to now us working on that final phase. Dan and I are kind of coming in that final phase. He has been an amazing resource and very helpful in both communication with the developer and getting things negotiated to land on the plan amendment as it is now. He is the one that recommended it. So I guess, John, do you have any insight on
I'll bring
where
him up here.
the thought process led to this idea of piloting this reduced road width?
How about I just, is there any other discussion for city staff? Then I'll just open the public hearing so we can just go right through. Is that all right? Is there any other discussion? Okay, with that, we'll open the public hearing, and then if anybody wishes to speak, on behalf of this item or give us a little background, I appreciate that.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the commission. My name is John Van Dyke. I'm the Executive Director for the Central Dakota Metropolitan Planning Organization, so that oversees transportation planning within the city of Minot, Surrey, Burlington, and parts of Ward County. I'm the former principal planner, so Doug is the former me. Anyway, so I recognize at least half of you on this side. It's a whole new half over here, so it's good to see new faces. Yeah, I guess primarily wanted to touch on first the alternative Exhibit 3, which I handed out prior to the meeting starting. And just for the benefit of the public who might be watching, which I'm sure there's about 4 people that are really excited to see all this, I handed out some adjustments to what is Exhibit 3 on item, or the third case that was to be presented, which got moved to the first case. Housing types, previously it stated housing types and future development. What's been marked off is and future development. The reason that was originally included was because this was the last phase. And previously it was just denoted as future development. The developers had no idea what they wanted to do 2 years ago. We didn't make them declare what they wanted to do. They said, hey, come back, submit your subdivision, declare what you want to do. Here they are doing literally what we asked them to do 2 years ago. So in the text of within housing types, it talks about the specific housing types. In this case, it refers to attachment A. That's the map I just discussed that had the entire development, the whole second and third division, which included that whole area, not just this subsection that we're talking about. Some of them were single family, some of them were twin homes, and then this future development component. So we don't need to refer to attachment A anymore because we're talking about specifically 8th edition in this case, and there is no more future development. So now it's just saying, hey, we're going to do single family residential, and that's the primary use on the property. We're allowed to do accessory and secondary uses as in line with the land development ordinance. So just like any other property. And then it sets out the setbacks, lot coverage, lot widths. This is all what applies to everything else. So it upholds the character of the area. And then what's discussed is the building elevations and design. So when I incorporated this into subsequent editions, the whole point of the way I worded it was building elevations and design, including specific floor plans and color schemes, must meet the requirements of the LDO, if any. The only reason I included references to specific floor plans and color schemes was because in the original development agreement, it was very limiting on which floor plans and color schemes could be included. So I included it for reference, but then followed it with must meet the requirements of the LDO. As you know, the LDO is pretty easy going. There is no requirements effectively. There's few requirements anyway. So I'm adding in for additional clarification, so there is no confusion whatsoever, no specific elevations, design elements, materials, or other special requirements are necessary to be fulfilled within this development other than what is required within the land development ordinance of the city of Minot. So I just want it to be very clear. The whole point was to try to unlock this subdivision from its entitlement ball of yarn. It was an absolute mess. And we worked hours and hours and hours together with the developer, the city did, and got this off the ground. I think it's probably one of the only developments that's continuing to move forward consistently anyway. And so just want to make sure that Andrew and subsequent builders can just carry on, finish this out and be done with it. And so that is the purpose of the Exhibit 3 alternative, just to make sure it's more than clear to existing staff and future staff alike that there are no special requirements, even though those were referred to in the original development agreement. So As far as the reduction in street widths, my hope is that we can start to explore reducing upfront costs for developers by reducing street widths. What typically I would say is, the way I worded it in this case, this alternative recommendation would be, is ultimately the city council is going to approve the street design based on engineering's recommendation. Now, I've worked with engineering. They're comfortable with up to 3 feet. Bismarck has done as much as 7 feet reduction, so effectively eliminating parking on one side of the street, right? So then you have no parking on certain sides. The thing that you have to contend with is that approach widths, right? So apron widths. They just relaxed rules to say up to 50% of your lot width. Well, these are already reduced lot sizes, so if you now have a 25-foot wide apron on a 50-foot lot, there's not many places to park on just one side of the street. So now you're not only limiting it to one side, but you're limiting where people can park on the street in the first place. So it's all tied together, and that needs to be hashed out. The 3 foot is what engineering was comfortable with. It does provide a cost savings up front. It also provides a cost saving on the back end when the city goes to maintain that roadway. So it's good up front, it's good in the long run. Ideally, what I'd like to see is on the local roadways on these residential streets that we do push more into parking on one side of the street. So I get it, maybe we can't put our RVs clogging up the streets in the summer, but we need to be thinking about the long-term viability and feasibility of maintaining all of this infrastructure, which is just getting more and more expensive year after year. So this is this is city planning. You know, this is thinking 20 years in the future, not the convenience of parking my RV today. So hopefully that answers that question maybe. But.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Van Dyke, I'm all for cost savings. It seems like a great idea, and I will support it. But I'm just sort of curious. These roads that are 3 feet more narrow, they're going to link into existent roads that are wider? Is there some engineering flare out that will occur when it links to the roads in the previous development?
Likely.
I mean, do you know about
It'll
that?
taper. I mean, it'll either taper. I doubt it's going to be a 1.5 foot sudden reduction, only because of snow removal. It'd almost be like a bulb out and a curb to hit. So I'm guessing it'll slightly taper to its reduced width. And just for public, what will likely be the reductions is typically we see an 8-foot parking lane, 10-foot driving lane, 10-foot driving lane, and then an 8-foot parking lane for a 36 foot. So this will be reduced to 7.5-foot parking lane, 9-foot driving lane, 9-foot driving lane, then 7.5. It's hardly a wild shift in how it works. It's not uncommon to have to drive and cross over into the other lane, even in the 36 foot. So just to do a little bit more of that. It's slight discomfort. I mean, if you want to call it that, but it will function fine. People just need to slow down, take their time, maybe wait for their neighbor to get by if there's parking on both sides. It's fine. And it will leave enough of a gap for emergency service to get through. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Van Dyke? Call you back up. There's no other questions? No?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, we might call you back up if we got something else that pops up.
Oh, yeah, no, that sounds great. So it's good seeing everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody else in the audience would like to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Anybody wish to speak for or against this agenda item? Ma'am, just to let you know, the lady that just walked in, we're on agenda item 5.3, so we moved it to the front, so if you're here to speak on that, okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. Seeing nobody's wishing to speak for or against, we'll close the public hearing. We'll turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
This is Commissioner Bauman. I'll go ahead and move to approve staff recommendation number 3 or alternative number 3 and their findings of fact.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion by Vice Chair Bauman and a second by Commissioner Longton. Any discussion? Any discussion? So, and I just want a little clarification here. This is just a reminder that we are just recommending approval to City Council for the amendment, correct? So this is based on just a recommendation, PUD, we don't have final say on or do we?
That is correct, Chairman Offerdahl. This follows the same process as a zoning map amendment, or
correct.
zoning, a text amendment. It has to go through first and second reading at City Council.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menum,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 5.4. It's another public hearing request by Andrew Goodmanson, 701 Development, owner for a request of a preliminary plat and easement vacation on a property zoned R2, two-family residential district with the PUD overlay. Preliminary plat for Highlands is for Highlands at North Hill Addition. The legal description for the properties requested on the easement of vacation are Lot 13, Block 1, Highlands at Lots 1, 2, 3, Block 1, Highlands at North Hill 7th Edition to the City of Minot. Subject property addresses are 2416, 2420, 2500 Ivory Street, and the lot to the south of those addresses that doesn't have an address. That will turn it over to city staff for findings and report.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the commission. As you can see, the subject property is bound in black. It is important to note that the 3 lots to the north would no longer be considered part of this application, as that they were tied to the easement vacation, and that application has been withdrawn. So at this point, we're just looking at a preliminary plat for the 2 large lots with unassigned addresses. You can also see the 300-foot notification boundary in pink. Here is the preliminary plat for Highlands at North Hill 8th Edition. The property is currently zoned R2, two-family residential with a PUD overlay, and the surrounding area is zoned C2 and public. Our future land use map classification is urban residential. Adjacent future land use includes urban residential, general commercial, and public and institutional. The first photo on the left is just the area where the pedestrian trail is supposed to be placed between the 2 homes. Sorry. The one on the right is, again, facing north. We're looking at the vacant lots. Again, we see northwest down 23rd and facing southwest towards the townhomes to the south. Here is staff finding of fact. It can be found in staff's written report. All right, recommendation. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt staff finding of fact and recommend approval to the City Council for a major subdivision preliminary plat for Highlands at North Hill 8th Edition as provided in Exhibit 3 with the following conditions. Development shall comply with the previously approved development agreement. Development shall comply with the proposed PUD plan amendment. Development shall comply with the previously approved stormwater management plan. A subdivision infrastructure plan is required. An infrastructure development agreement will be required. Sewer connection fees at $3,787 an acre, and sidewalks are required. With that, I can stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dietrichson, I'm just, what are we voting on then? If the easement vacation is not part of it, what are we discussing?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, we are looking at a preliminary plat. So these lots don't exist. We're establishing the subdivision lots.
Yeah.
Any further discussion for city staff? Okay, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Anybody wish to speak in opposition to this agenda item? Anybody wish to speak for or against? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we'll turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
I move to approve based on staff findings of fact.
I'll second.
So a motion to approve by Kibler and second by Menem.
Yes.
Commissioner Menem, okay. Is this to include the 7 conditions?
Correct.
Okay. Second with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
This is Commissioner Bauman. If I can jump in for a second, I have a few thoughts to just kind of share.
Absolutely.
Thanks. I'm obviously going to be supporting this. Glad to see that this Arrested development is moving forward. And again, just want to publicly thank staff for helping get some new housing starts going in the community, because it's crucial that we've got homes of all kind of access points available for our community. The issue of the pedestrian right of way is a really, really interesting one, and I just kind of want to share a few thoughts of in terms of pedestrian access and making sure that we have pedestrian and non-vehicle access to points of public service like Minot North High School, et cetera. I know it can sometimes feel like a pain, but I do want to just really reinforce and say it's really positive to see that this pedestrian access and easement is staying, so that, it's probably cutting off maybe a tenth to a quarter of a mile off of a pedestrian trip if someone is coming from the back part of this neighborhood and trying to walk to the high school. And I know that seems like a pretty small amount, but when it's cold, that could be the difference between driving versus walking, and a family needing to have a second or third car in order to make sure that they get everything met. And so that pedestrian access and easement is actually a really crucial service for the families that live in that neighborhood. And moving forward, I really hope that our developing community can continue to find ways to make sure that, in many cases, walking is the easiest form of transportation to get from neighborhoods to the essential services that they're located next to. So I'm pleased to see that the developer is keeping things, and that we can continue to do development in this area and get new houses. And I hope that we see more of it in the future.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menem,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanila, Wolf,
Yes.
Amick, Doctor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're moving backwards to 5.1. Public hearing request by Richard Walker, owner of a request for a preliminary plat and zoning map amendment on property zoned AG with requested rezoning of RR residential, rural residential. Legal description for the property is northeast quarter, section 33, township 156, range 83, Ward County. Property address is 3001 62nd Avenue Northwest. With that, we'll turn it over to staff for findings and report.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the commission, we're moving out of town, all the way to the edge of the ETJ. So the subject property is bound in black with a 600-foot notification in pink. It is located in the northwest quadrant of the ETJ. If you see that blue line up in the upper left-hand corner of the map, that is our extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction 2-mile boundary. So the applicant is proposing to replat single lot into 2 lots, and they are requesting a zone change from ag to rural residential to align future land use designation of rural residential. It's also important to note that with the approval of the replat, they will have to do a rezone because this property will fall below the acreage threshold for an agriculturally zoned property. Here you can see the preliminary plat. As you can see, we'll end up with 5.19 acre lot 1 of Eden Addition. Current zoning of the property is ag, and with rural residential adjacent. The future land use designation is rural residential, and adjacent districts are rural residential and agricultural. On the left, we see a photo facing south. This is the driveway to the property. Facing north, along 62nd Avenue. Left, we are facing west, and on the right, we are facing east. So, agricultural property in the area. Here is staff finding of fact. It can be found in staff's written report. The Planning Commission has the authority to hear this case and provide the City Council with a recommendation as to whether approve or to deny, approve with conditions. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt staff finding of fact, recommend approval to the City Council for a zoning map amendment from agricultural district to rural residential district without conditions for Eden Addition Lot 1 and the remaining unplatted acreage, and recommend approval of the preliminary plat for Eden Addition without conditions. That I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Diedrichson, just a point of clarification. That blue line then indicated that the ET zone started to the west of that line and that this subject property is inside the city?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, yes, this is inside of the ETJ boundary.
Inside the ETA boundary.
Inside, yes.
And that's our domain, isn't it? For
land use authority,
okay,
yes.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for city staff?
Yeah, one line if I may. Just the purpose of changing to rural residential then would be to build houses on these lots?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, one lot will have the existing homestead on it. No project has been proposed for the adjacent lot as of yet. It'll
And
just
so
be a
that's
vacant
typical
lot.
to have a replat without anybody identifying what the purpose of the replat is? Did they not say what they plan to do?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, no. For as a condition of a replat, you are not required to give the city any development plans as to how you intend to use that lot moving forward. It just becomes a vacant lot that carries a zoning designation. It would be available for use for any allowed or conditional use in the rural residential zone.
Thank you.
Any other questions for city staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody available that would like to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Anybody here to speak in opposition of this agenda item? Anybody wish to speak for or against? Okay, seeing nobody coming up front, we will close the public hearing and turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
I move that we approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amick, second by Commissioner Johnson, is that correct? Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll call it a roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menum,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 5.2, public hearing request by Mark Mint, Mint Construction owner for a request of a variance on a property zoned R2, two-family residential district with a request for lot coverage and rear setback relief. The legal description of the property lots are 4A, 4B, 5A, 5B, 6A, 6B, 7A, 7B, 8A, 8B, and 55th, 55th Crossing, 3rd edition to the city of Minot. The property addresses are 1509, 1511, 1513, 1515, 1517, 1519, 1521, 23rd, 1523, 1525, and 1527 47th Loop Street, Southeast. That will turn it over to staff for reports and findings.
Thank you, Chairman Offerdahl. Commissioners, you can see the subject property is outlined in black with the pink being the notification boundary of 300 feet. This subdivision is also one of our arrested subdivisions. It's down by 55th Crossing, which just to the east of this picture is Nedrose High School, to kind of give you a landmark. The applicant is seeking a variance due to how these lots were platted back in about 2013. The lots on the east side of this subdivision happen to be 8 feet longer than the lots on the west side. And so as they were building their design up and around, starting on the east side to the west, they hit these lots and then we had issues. And so that's why we're here tonight for a variance. Here is the site plan for their preferred twin home model. You can see the dotted line in the back denotes the 20 feet that would be required normally for the rear setback. They're requesting down to 16 for their bump out on twin home model number 1. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see also the lot coverage calculations. For that district, the lot coverage maximum is 40%, but they'll need to go up to 44%, and again, that's due to just the size discrepancy of these lots and how they were platted. Next slide, please. The zoning for the property is R2. It is surrounded by more R2 with a walking trail that goes up to a stormwater detention pond on the west side. There's also R3 and mobile home. Wheatland Village is just to the south. Next slide, please. The future land use has this whole area as suburban residential with manufactured home community to the south. Here are some pictures of the development. So facing south, you can see where the homes were built in 2013 and stopped. These homes also wouldn't meet our current setback requirement too. And then facing north, you can see the model they have been building that they'd like to wrap around into this vacant spot. Facing west would be the middle of where they'd like to build, and then facing east is back across where you can see they have been building. This is the findings of fact. They can be found in the staff's written report. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt staff findings of fact and approve a variance to the rear setback of the reduction from 20 feet to 16 and increase the maximum lot coverage from 40 to 44% for Block 1, lots 4A, 4B, 5A, 5B, 6A, 6B, 7A, 7B, 8A, 8B, 55th Crossing, 3rd edition. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
I have one question. Did you say that the current homes that are built would not meet the setbacks now?
Chairman Offenbaugh, Commissioner Amick, yes. The ones that were built just to the south of this development, they were built back in under an old set of ordinances, and so while they were allowed then, we can't just have the same homes go in now. They again would be about 4 feet off the setback requirement for a rear yard.
Mr. Chairman, so 4 feet off, mean 4 feet lower
Yes.
than the required setback?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, yes. Instead of the 20 feet required, they are hovering around the 16 or 15 rear yards to that back west lot line.
Yeah, if I could just sort of follow up, and it's a philosophical question. After the flood and the need for housing in Minot, there was a general discussion about kind of reducing these setbacks anyway to get a bigger build footprint per platted lot. Is what we're seeing here part of some larger philosophical vision to reduce setbacks overall for building in Minot?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, this is more of a housekeeping than it is a grand vision. Setbacks as they stand are there for a very good reason. If you've driven down 16th Street, you can see the house that was ran into because it was so close to the road. In general, fire separation is a big deal as to why we don't decrease these very much unless there is significant investment in, say, firewalls and things of that nature. In this development here, these lots platted on the west, we believe were platted for what we would now call townhomes, but in the old ordinance, we lumped everything together into townhome, whereas now we have a distinction between town and twin. And in this R2 district as it stands now, townhomes are actually not allowed. So these lots are smaller because they were built for something that never happened, and then the rules changed on them. So that's kind of why this variance is here today and why we have selected the exceptional practical difficulties category for the variance.
Okay, thank you. So not deep plan, just light housekeeping for consistency. Thank you.
Yes.
If I may, I normally would not want to change the setbacks, but I did drive out there, and it does look like the new homes would fit in with what is there. So,
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Amick, yes, they had built, I believe, 16 of the same model so far into that division, and these homes, as they stand, are only 1,000 square feet, so they're not large homes to begin with, and so the fact that they don't even fit on these lots is kind of signifies a larger problem with just how they were platted.
And just for, I got two quick questions here. Just for new commissioners and some of us been here for a little bit long. When we vote on a variance, we got to have reason, right? We can't just vote because we like it. Is there any way that you could just touch base real brief? Just on, I think there's like 4 or 5 categories, topographical and stuff like that. And you explained the one that you're leaning towards. Sorry to put you on the spot.
So there are 3 categories
3,
for
okay.
the variance. One of them relates to exceptional shallowness or shape of the property. These lots being nice rectangles and no topographical. The next one is topographical conditions that don't really exist. They're very flat, very buildable lots. The third section is the exceptional practical difficulties that can't have been created by the landowner and aren't economical in nature. And we feel like the regulatory body changing the rules and how these were defined between twin and town falls pretty firmly into that category.
No, thank you very much. I mean, we've kind of went through this before in the past, but we can't just choose that we want to do it. We got to have a reason why we do it. The second question I have for you, and you kind of touched base on a little bit, is, and I may have missed this in your report. If I did, I apologize. Any conversations with city, like the fire department? Did we get any feedback back from them? Are they concerned about them being too close together in this development, or engineering or anybody like that? Did we get any follow-up letters on that?
Chairman Offerdahl, no, we did not receive any comment when we sent it out to department heads. The only spaces around these houses that would be any different is the section of the houses that face the walking trail.
Okay.
So the side setbacks don't change and the front setbacks don't change. And those tend to be the largest determiners of safety.
Thank you. Any other questions for city staff?
Commissioner Bauman, I've got one question and a comment.
Okay.
Changing the lot coverage from 40% to 44%, does that have any noticeable or appreciable impact on stormwater management for the neighborhood as a whole?
Chairman Offerdahl, Vice Chair Bauman, I again received no comment from the engineering department to suggest that they would be concerned about it. As it stands right now, we don't currently regulate like impervious surface as part of that lot coverage anymore, and their driveways will be far larger than the 4% that this would cover.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the clarification. And then, Mr. Falconer and to the rest of our staff, I just want to reiterate once again my appreciation for your work, kind of working through the details with the developer for this particular arrested development. It's really great to see attention focused and a collaboration between our planning division and also developers in the Minot community, again, to help get these new housing starts going so that we've got, again, a variety of housing stock available for young families and families at all stages of life. It's great to see. So I just want to once again express the gratitude for that. I know this is tough work. It would be easy to just say, no, it doesn't fit the mold, done. But I'm really glad that you're working through and having that partnership with the developers. So thank you for your efforts on that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Dan, just maybe one more follow-up question because I didn't quite hear you at the end. That the city doesn't consider impermeable surfaces. What were you talking about there?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler. So under old LDO ordinances, any impervious surface used to count towards your total lot coverage. And so driveways and patios of things of that nature used to be a sticking point. And now the way that lot coverage is defined in the LDO is simply roofed improvements.
I'm just sort of curious to why that change occurred because those surfaces do result in a greater groundwater problem, watershed problem. So what's the rationale for that change?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler. I mean, I was not here at the time it changed. We'd have to defer questions to the engineering department, but it might have been a fight between being able to regulate it and as the lots spread apart and get bigger, they need more driveways, and I don't know how that all washed out.
Washed out. Okay, thank you.
That was clever. Okay, any further discussion for city staff? Okay, appreciate it very much. Thank you. We're going to open up the public hearing here. Is there anybody in attendance that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Anybody wishes to speak in opposition? For or against, right? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and we'll turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
I'd move to approve based on staff findings of fact.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Kibler, second by Commissioner Longton. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menham,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 6, miscellaneous and discussion items.
Chairman Offerdahl, if I may, I wanted to discuss with you and the Planning Commission. August 5th is the date for the Planning Commission in August. It is also the same day as our special mayoral election. Do we want to reschedule that meeting? You can choose to keep it the same day while the polls are open, or we can do Wednesday the 6th or the next Tuesday the 12th. We just wanted to kind of get your thoughts because we do have to advertise this, and it'd be nice to advertise it as far ahead of time as possible so that the public is aware, so we can make applicants aware because coming into end of June, we're going to start finding ourselves on the deadline for the August Planning Commission. So just kind of a thought, do we want to have Planning Commission on election day or do we want to consider rescheduling it because of the special election? And I can leave it to the commission to discuss.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
Mr.
open
Chairman, Mr. Diedrichsen, just my own point of view, it doesn't matter because I live in the ET zone and so I have taxation without representation and cannot vote.
This is Commissioner Bauman. Just out of principle, I think I support removing any and all barriers and things being on any sort of election day so that we have as few reasons to not vote because of work-related obligations. So I would be in support of moving to Wednesday, August 6th for our Planning Commission meeting so that our contractors, our engineers, us as commissioners, our staff, everyone can get to the polls in a way that works for them.
Mr. Chairman,
I,
could I maybe ask staff, like, I recall back in November, obviously, the election day is typically on a day that we would normally have scheduled a meeting. Do we have that meeting anyway? I can't quite remember myself, but,
It was moved, I believe.
okay.
Yeah,
Like to-
Mr. Chairman, it was moved to the following day, the following Wednesday.
Then, Mr. Chairman, I would think, I would agree with Commissioner Bauman that Wednesday the 6th would be the wisest course of action.
I can't vote either for the mayor because of where I live,
Okay.
but I think it should be moved.
Yeah, I think logically it makes sense
Yeah.
to,
Mr. Chairman, we're just concerned about having a quorum for the meeting. Is everyone available on the 6th?
Yes.
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 Because without a quorum, we can't take any action, so.
As of right now, sure.
yeah, if everybody's kind of in agreeance that I'm kind of taking it as a motion that we're going to move this to Wednesday, August 6th, 2025 at 5:30 here at City Hall. Is that what you would, I'll allow somebody to put that.
Yeah, I can make that motion. if you
And-
want.
and I would
Make that
second
move
it.
To Wednesday.
Those of us that can't vote.
But we do have a motion on the table here to move the Tuesday, August 5th meeting to Wednesday, August 6th due to a special election here at City Hall at 5:30, 2025. We got a second by Commissioner Amick. So I would say with that, any further discussion? And if not, we can just call it a roll real quick.
Bauman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menum,
Yes.
Offerdahl, Pontanilla,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, any additional miscellaneous or discussion items?
Chairman Offerlow, yes, Associate Planner Dan Falconer has one more topic he'd like to just information item discuss with you.
Chairman Offerdahl, I've been approached by several sign companies about how Minot's sign code kind of operates with non-conforming buildings and overall how it compares with the region. And I feel like it warrants enough of a discussion that at the next planning commission, I'd like to present informational item on just how signs are regulated in Minot. Do we want to say move closer towards a Bismarck model or a Fargo model? And these are signs that are like the large freestanding signs you see along Broadway. We regulate the size and height and everything about those signs. All the wall signs you see on all the businesses are also regulated by us as well. So it's kind of very much so an aesthetic of the community. And so I can go through how we regulate them now and some potential alternatives perhaps. But just to let you guys know, we'd be talking about it in the next sessions, just so that I don't ambush you with a whole bunch of sign data, which I know you're also excited about.
You know, and briefly, if I can add to a point here, I recall here within the last 2 to 3 years that we did do a little adjustments on our signage. You know, I think the Gate City signs came up to where they could be the full billboard signs, and there was some talk on that. So during your presentation, maybe give us a little background history on kind of where it was 10 years ago to compare to, you know, where it has. Because did we not talk about this a couple of years ago? And make some minor adjustments on the wall
Yeah.
signs? So, okay.
Yep. We had a pretty robust, even a subcommittee, I think, that met to review and make recommendations.
So, no, I look forward to it, yes, and
Right.
it's a growing thing, so I look forward to it. Thank you.
We
Any
did
other
also
discussion?
recently have a text amendment adjusting sign allocations in the central business district for taller buildings and things
Okay.
of that nature.
Yeah,
Sign code isn't, we do have sign permits. They are administratively approved, so you guys don't see a whole lot on it unless we're asking to change the text. So
Right.
just a heads up, Dan's going to throw some new data at you next
Perfect.
planning commission.
enjoy it. Okay, any other additional miscellaneous or discussion items? This is kind of your time to bring up anything you'd like. So, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7 for adjournment. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.